A good night of Shabbos, everyone. This is a good night of Shabbos, everyone. This is not the usual place that I make these recordings. I am not in Eretz Yisrael at the moment. I'm in America. And I am here, Baruch Hashem, to celebrate the bar mitzvah of my grandson, Ephraim Hiller, the son of Levi and Chaviva Hiller. And Baruch Hashem, we're in Detroit. Our entire family, all of our children have joined us together, and we're going to be here for Shabbos. And it promises to be really a beautiful, amazing Shabbos and a beautiful Simcha. But I really very much wanted to just have an opportunity to share a small thought before Shabbos. You know, the opening lines of the Parsha, Noach is Tzadik Tamid, the rest of Noach was a righteous person. He was a righteous person in his generation. And the Rashi brings down Yeshtosh, the Shvach, the Yeshtosh, the Gnai. There are those looking in a positive way, those looking in a negative way, those that say that he was in such a lousy generation, but look what he was able to do. He was able to become such an incredible person. And there are those that say that he was great in his generation, but if you would have taken it and compared him to other generations, then it wouldn't have really amounted to much. The question has been asked to me every single year, that why is it that we have to look negatively? I understand that people do look negatively at things, but why is it necessary to look at Noach? The Noach that the Torah says he's an Ish Tzaddik, where the Torah says he's a Tamim, he's a pure person. Why would you have to look at it and even see something negative in it and compare it to other generations? Had he been in the generation of Abraham, then he never would have amounted to anything. So I think that this is not the only incident in the Torah where you find that God is going to destroy things, and then the leader of the generation reacts to that. We know that by Avraham Avinu, that God was going to destroy Sodom, and Avraham Avinu came to the defense of the Sodomites and the Sodomites, terrible, really terrible people. And he came to their defense and said to God, if I could find 50 righteous, 40 righteous, 30 righteous, if I could find something, can we save somebody at least? We know that Cain, when Cain killed Hevel, so God came to him and said, where's your brother? Now, he doesn't give a great answer, but at least he says something. I'm supposed to be guarding my brother. I have to worry about my brother. And from there, we understand that, yes, you have to guard and protect and worry about your brother, but at least he said something. It was a lousy answer. He was sort of trying to push the responsibility off onto something else, but at least he said something. He tried to defend himself. When God was going to destroy the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu says, wipe me out of his book. I don't want to have any part of this. He said something. He defended himself. He defended the Jewish people in some kind of way. Did you ever wonder why it took 120 years to build this table? It was labor intensive, but he had help. There were people that helped him build it. 120 years? Because maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu let it schlep because he was waiting for Noach to open his mouth. He was waiting for Noach to say, God, maybe you won't destroy the people. God, maybe you won't carry through with this. Maybe you won't do this. They're not all that bad. There's a couple of them that maybe are worth saving. Not one word of defense. And that perhaps is the reason why the rabbis look at it and say, Yesh Toshim L'Gnai. There is a little negativity here. You have to look at this. He was an Ish Tzaddik. He was great. He was awesome. But he didn't defend his people. He didn't defend the people that God wanted to destroy. There's something wrong here. So you have to ask the question, why didn't he? What was the chisaron? What was missing in Noach that he wouldn't defend them? So, you know, when it starts to rain, and the Medrash says the water gets up to his neck, and then he finally goes into the boat. After 120 years of building, and God telling him that it was going to rain and they were going to all be destroyed, and then it's actually raining, and he's wondering. And Rashi says, Mkhitaryan, he was from he had a faith problem. Noach had a faith problem? Noach was the only tzaddik in a generation of really lousy people. What do you mean that he was Mkhitaryan Mana? Man and veino man, because he believed and he didn't believe. He believed on the outside, but not necessarily on the inside. He lived his life with full belief. He followed God, did whatever God wanted him to do. But there was chisaron. There was something missing, because it was missing that depth. That depth, that personalization, that part of himself, that internalizing this message, that was missing. That was the reason why he can influence nobody. Why he didn't even step in to the ability to try. Why he didn't even make an attempt to try to save anyone. Because God never told him to do that. He was all about doing the right thing, but he wasn't feeling it. It wasn't something that was coming from deep inside of him. It was something that was coming from the surface. It was like a coat that he was wearing. He followed every law. He did everything that was expected of him, but he couldn't do more than that because it wasn't coming from deep inside. You say to Avraham Avinu, I'm going to destroy a nation. Avraham Avinu says, oh my gosh, he's broken inside. You say to Moshe that God is going to destroy the Jewish people. Moshe says, not on my watch, it's not going to happen. It can't, because Moshe is connected to everything in such a deep kind of way. But Noach's connection was a much more superficial connection. Noach's connection was a little bit more on the outside. And for that reason, Noach couldn't jump. God was waiting. But Noach couldn't jump and take a bullet for the rest of them. Noach couldn't go and defend him because it wasn't coming from deep inside of him. You know, we hit points in our lives where we do everything. We're still keeping Shabbos, and we're doing kashrus, and we do everything, but we're doing everything. We're not necessarily feeling everything. It's not coming from a deep place inside of us. It's not something that we've internalized. And you can see it by the disconnections in our lives. You can see it by the disparity in our lives. That we say one thing and we do something different. That we follow certain laws in a certain kind of way, but we don't, that doesn't translate into other things that we do. Because very often we're just living on the surface. We're living more like Noach than we are like Avraham Avinu. When you live like Noach, you're good to go. When you live like Avraham, everybody else is good to go. And that's the place we need to get to. The place we need to get to is we need to get to that place where it's something that's coming, pouring out of us. It's something that's just, we walk into a room and it's just spilling over from us. That love of God, that love of Torah, that love of mitzvahs is something that just oozes from us. We reek of it. That's what we have to daven for. That's what we have to train for. To get to that place where this is our very identity. It's who we are. How do I know that this wasn't Noach? Because in the first half of the Passion, Noach is described as an Ish Tzaddik. And in the second half of the Pasha, he's described when he gets out of the boat as an Ish HaAdama. It's a man of the earth. There's nothing wrong with being a farmer. There's nothing wrong with planting and plowing. But there is something wrong with being an Ish HaAdama, that's your identity. And Noach traded in his identity as an Ish Tzaddik. And he was able to assume another identity of an Ish HaAdama. Because the Ish Tzaddik wasn't deeply rooted. And therefore it was easily tradable, easily switchable. As the year begins, and again, we're setting our roots for the year, we're unfolding ourselves. We have to look at Noach and say, what an awesome person. But the awesomeness of Noach could have been magnified had he made it in part of himself, had he internalized his own message, not just spoken it. And that should be our goal. That we aren't just doing Torah and mitzvahs. That we become, we are one with Torah and mitzvahs. It's what, if I was delivering a bar mitzvah message to my grandson, it's what I would say his goal is. His goal is to internalize, not to leave it on the surface. When you're a bar mitzvah, that day it's what you do. But as life goes on, it's what you should become. And that's my bracha for him, and it's my bracha for each and every one of us. That these mitzvahs that we do should be the mitzvahs that we become. Have a beautiful, amazing, awesome, wonderful Shabbos. Yetz Hashem next week. Back in Eretz Yisrael. Shabbos.